There is a lot of different ways to draw and color digitally, and in this video I'll show a step-by-step process that is pretty streamlined and standard for sequential art like comics, webtoon, and even animation. It's often called cartoon style. It has distinct line art and cel shading, as you can see in this example image. Let's see how it was made. We start with a sketch. It defines the composition of our picture, placement of objects and characters in the frame, angle at which we'll look at them, characters' poses, gestures, proportion, anatomy, all of the fundamental stuff to which we'll be adding details and color in later steps. It's okay to rework your sketch a few times to find the compositions that you really like. And digital tools like transformation, for example, are very useful for that. Once we are happy with our sketch, it's time for line art. If your sketch is detailed enough, this step can be as easy as tracing the sketch, or you might want to add some small details, for example, to your character's clothes or accessories. I prefer to use clean lines, so the picture reads easier at a glance, but I vary line weight to give it more organic hand-drawn look. But ultimately, the line art style is a personal preference for every artist. Backgrounds are its own big topic, and since this picture mostly focuses on characters, uses simple abstract backgrounds, I won't touch it here. After line art, we move to coloring and start with so-called flats or flat colors. This is the easiest but very time-consuming step, and it is often outsourced. There are many ways to speed it up with some automation. Here, though, I do it by hand. As the name suggests, we are basically just filling every element of our drawing with its local color. I use the consistent palette for my characters, well, for consistency, so their clothes, hair, skin and accessories look the same in every panel of the comic. These are local colors, that's how they look in neutral white lighting. And once we move to shading, these colors will change depending on the environment our characters are in. In this particular picture, the characters are outside during sunset, so I shift the colors toward red by adding low opacity red layer on top of them. The next step is cel shading. Unlike soft or gradient shading, this method colors with flat fills every element of the picture that is in the shadow and leaves everything else untouched. This isn't realistic, but it reads well, and it is usually faster to do than more realistic soft shading. Here you define where the light comes from and color everything that light doesn't reach. It's usually done on multiply layer, and you can play with its opacity for more dramatic lighting. Here I use a second layer of cel shading to indicate deeper shadows and add some more volume to the characters. And now to some final touches, most of which are purely my stylistic choices. I add highlights along the line art to make it even more readable and noticeable. Here you can see me using golden yellow to highlight the parts touched by direct light source, and for the parts in the shadow I use red, the same as for shadows, since it's the color of our ambient light in this scene. By the way, see how I use red shadows here? There is this commonly thrown around rule that your shadows must have cool color, and usually blue, but that's not always the case, even for outdoor scenes, and I can talk about it in a separate video if you're interested. Let me know. But for now, we are done, and this is the result. Thanks for watching.